Hello and welcome to Reddit or Not. I am Ron Chabuduo, and I would like to thank you for watching. We are going to look at Today I Fudged Up Science Experiments Gone Wrong. Today I fudged up by eating my nephew's science experiment. Once a week, I, 30-year-old male, teach my nephew, 8, how to play the piano. I don't get paid, but my sister cooks dinner for me whenever I go over. Last weekend, while my nephew was practicing a new piece, I noticed that he got a new piano ornament thing. It's a bright blue crystal that looks like rock sugar. I don't know what came over me, but when my nephew was on a toilet break, I broke off a tiny piece of the crystal and popped it in my mouth. It tasted horrible and my mouth felt so dry for a long time afterwards. I tried to act all nonchalant about it, but I felt really nauseous during dinner. My sister was really concerned and thought her food was making me sick until my nephew piped up. Third uncle ate my copper sulfate crystal. It's ugly now. I'm not sure when the little snitch saw me, but he looked so trucking smug. There was a stunned silence at the dinner table. I could see my brother-in-law trying his best not to laugh while my sister attempted to process the fact that her elder brother just ate part of her son's science experiment. As far as I know, I'm not dead yet. I'm just preparing myself for record amounts of sibling ridicule this Christmas. Too long, didn't read. Ate my nephew's science experiment, not dead yet. Edit. Y'all, I'm touched at the amount of concern in the post comments. I ate that crap last Saturday and I'm still alive today with no ill effects. I think it's safe to say that I'm not badly poisoned and I'm not gonna die anytime soon. But lesson learned, don't just put strange things in your mouth. First rule of Science Club: don't eat the science experiments. Can I think of a joke about sodium? Nah. Probably should have spit it out when it obviously didn't taste like rock candy. The next story, like Cheech, is up in smoke. Today I fudged up by causing my entire school to be evacuated. This happened my sophomore year of high school, 2003. I lived in a small town of under 1,000 residents and subsequently went to a very small school of about 150 students total. Even for the early 2000s, our school was pretty loose on rules, especially giving some of the good students extra leeway. For example, I was allowed to carry a pocket knife on a daily basis. Often got excused from class to help mark the football field or mow the baseball diamond, etc. About midway through the year, one of our coaches quit for personal reasons. He was also the teacher of my 5th hour humanities class. It was a small class of about 10 students, and we were placed in the science lab with the 7th grade science class. We would sit back in the lab area, do our bookwork as a group, then talk or play with the lab stuff. Miss Miller really didn't care as long as we did our work and stayed quiet. Towards the end of the year, the 7th grade class was getting to start on a science project. A couple of us talked the teacher into letting us do one as well, as long as we still got all our book work done. We divided up into 3 groups and started looking through books for ideas. Finally, one of us came across a page that gave instructions on building a homemade smoke bomb survival signal. Being typical teenage boys, we decided on this and started working on it the next day. It was a mixture of ingredients that can be found in just about any kitchen. We mixed it together and ended up with a bowl-sized smoke bomb with 5 or so matches upside down in it to act as fuses. It dried over the weekend and was ready to be tested on Monday. We had all planned on setting it off in the parking lot outside the classroom window. Our teacher thought this to be a bad idea as it may cause people to believe the school was on fire. Using all her wisdom and reasoning, she concluded we had to set it off under the vent hood as it would filter out any smoke and not cause any problems. This didn't make us particularly happy, but we agreed to her terms. We placed the gray-colored bowl of our homemade concoction into the vent hood and lit the matches. It started out pretty weak, just putting out a little smoke from the center where our fuse was placed. Slowly but surely, the small flame on the top began to spread out towards the edges. It didn't take long for it to produce more smoke than the vent hood could displace. We started opening windows as smoke filled the science room, but the smoke bomb just kept producing more and more smoke. At some point, someone turned on the ceiling fans, which made the coolest smoke tornadoes. At this point, we evacuated the 7th graders from the room. But how were we supposed to know that when they opened the door, the wind would blow through the windows and fill the hallways with our science project? At this time, the principal was notified, and that's when the evacuation of the entire school happened. It took over an hour for the smoke to clear out of the high school that afternoon. All the students were displaced to the gym across the street where they got to play basketball or volleyball for the remainder of the day. This was towards the end of the year. No one got in trouble for the incident. However, thinking back now, Miss Miller didn't return to school the next year. Coincident? I hope so. Too long, didn't read. Science project goes wrong, evacuated the entire school. Well, next time you will know better and use the giant smoke survival signal outside. That would have been cool to see the smoke tornadoes though. The last story today has a trebuchet. Today I fudged up by suggesting siege weapons in science class. Obligatory happened when I was in 11th grade, nearly 2 decades ago at this point. A little backstory, I come from a small town with a small school district, and my primary teacher for high school handled physical science, computer science, and mathematics class. In an effort to create shared interest between the classes, our teachers had a bright idea to partner up with our woodshop class and have a project span all 4 classes. We are to make basic levers and machines to throw tennis balls, calculate and measure the firing arcs. Me, in my infinite wisdom, suggest we make catapults. The class agreed, the teacher agreed, and plans were going ahead using CAD software to design the machines. Then things fell through with the wood shop, so we decided to assemble with connects instead. And here is where fouled everything up. I suggested to 3 of my classmates and fellow teammates on our wrestling team that instead of a bunch of catapults, they could pool their resources and make a single sweet trebuchet for the laughs. One of them decides instead of a wood block for a counterweight, he's going to sneak off to the gym and swipe 4 5-pound iron weights. Fast forward to the day of assembly. Now, if you don't know what a Connex is, it's a plastic building toy consisting of small rods and gears. Plastic. Thin plastic. Versus 20 pounds of iron. So here I am minding my own business and working on my catapult while my classmates are literally duct taping bundles of rods together in order to create enough structure to hold the counterweight. Unbelievably, the Frankenstein's monster of plastic, iron, cloth, and adhesive is holding together. One of the group loads the tennis ball to ensure everything fits and is ready. I, across the room, stand up to stretch. The firing pin on the trebuchet snaps. There is a loud thud as the iron weights slam into the table. The tennis ball flies across the room faster than a baseball pitcher can throw. It nails me perfectly right in my sack. I double forward in pain, only to slam my head onto the table I'm working at. At this point, I have blacked out, so I had to rely on my classmates to clue me in afterwards. Apparently, I smashed my nose into the table, spewing blood onto the table, my catapult, and in the air as I reversed directions and collapsed backwards like a puppet with its strings cut, slamming the back of my head into the metal chair I was sitting in before I slumped to the ground like a sack of meat. My 3 peers start laughing like it is going out of style. The teacher is in a panic as I'm unconscious. The principal, school nurse, and librarian, all nearby, rush in to see what the crash was and find me on the floor. They get me out of the classroom and into the infirmary. I was blacked out roughly 5 minutes. After I had regained awareness of my surroundings, one of the local EMTs and my, at the time, girlfriend's father arrived with the resident doctor in town, and the 2 of them had to examine me to make sure nothing was broken or any internal injuries. End result? Cold pack on my groin, some strong painkillers. I was completely bruised between the legs. My nose had to be set back in place. I had to be observed the whole day for signs of a concussion. I was left walking bow-legged and couldn't properly sit down. Oh, and my girlfriend broke up with me over embarrassment when her father shared the story at the local watering hole and everyone in town heard of what happened. The trebuchet worked like a charm though. Too long, didn't read. Suggested siege weapons as a class project. Got nailed between the legs by a tennis ball and blacked out. Aggravated things with other injuries and became the so-so pariah of my town's gossip circles. Wow, OP, that story is pretty nuts. Well, at least it worked. Hopefully you got an A. Did you know if Iron Man and Silver Surfer teamed up, they would be alloys? To my current subscribers, thank you for being a part of this community. Please remember to help me grow by liking and sharing. If this is your first time here, I would love to have you subscribe to Reddit or Not, the channel that will mildly entertain you. Always remember, you are awesome and you matter. Let your voice be heard. You can share your thoughts, stories, and comments below. Until next time, Ron out.